As a kid, you probably dreamed up some pretty crazy video game ideas with your friends, only to realize that there's a reason why big studios don't get to make those games, and it's because implementing those concepts takes time. Well, let me tell you that Westerado double-barreled feels like one of those completely insane ideas that developer Ostrich Banditos pitched, and then with reckless abandon decided to make. The setup is simple, a Western-themed whodunit where you play as a cowboy looking for your family's murderer. The thing is, you can accuse just about everyone in Westerado's open world, and more importantly, shoot them on a whim to vindicate your suspicions, even the major characters. The game uses a great system in which you can take out your gun at any time, including during conversations, and the AI will react to it. So this is a game where you can go up to a random character in the street and accuse them of murder before pointing your gun in their face, and it's endlessly funny. Which is why it's such a good thing that Westerado's writing is self-aware enough that you never feel too badly messing up and killing the wrong person. The game actually puts you in situations where collateral damage is bound to happen, encouraging as much chaos as it can. It's a great playground for player-controlled comedy, and in that sense, Westerado delivers perfectly. That being said, the gameplay itself is extremely shallow, and the quests themselves are uninteresting if you aren't spicing them up with a little bit of your own humor. The game touts endless replayability with its infinite variety of comedic situations, but chances are that you'll be done with the gameplay loop even before you're finished your short, but very funny playthrough. For the industry, the Order 1886 will represent a symbolic failure of cinema envy and narratology in games. Its foibles and the consumer backlash to them may have stymied the creation of new games in its style for some time, but truthfully, the Order 1886 isn't ruined by the shortcomings of any one trope, but by the game's inability or cowardice to commit in any one direction. And this is all made worse by a plot no more or less interesting than a middling Call of Duty campaign. It's an okay game, it's a spectacle, a true blockbuster. There is beauty in simplicity. Titan Souls is essentially a series of boss fights, 19 of them, not all of which are mandatory. You are a tiny sprite person traveling the world, which serves as a hub for the fights themselves. You have one single arrow that you can shoot or reclaim. One shot, well aimed, and the boss is dead. But the same goes for you. The trouble is that the game is too afraid to deviate from its inspiration. Titan Souls never realizes that the manic pace of its fights is its very essence, and accidentally hurts its core design by making the player slowly walk back to each encounter when they die. It's a small mistake in a perfectly controlled experience that will still appeal to a certain niche. Considering how perfect player placement is what leads you to victory, repeated attempts will always end in a lucky streak, making some victories feel anticlimactic. The heart of Titan Souls is the elusive perfect run. It's a game that won't make much sense to the majority of players, but for a specific contingent of people, I'm thinking of speedrunners and no-death aficionados, it will be something worth cherishing. Axiom Verge is straight-up Metroid. Games inspired by the Nintendo classic are popular these days, and Axiom Verge is probably the most reverent of them, but it still manages to successfully stray from the path in interesting ways. By completely changing the abilities on the upgrade path typical of these games, it finds a way to make unlocking new skills exciting again. Not all of the abilities are winners, but the best ones will make you reevaluate how you play the game going forward. Best of all, while typical health bonuses and damage upgrades still exist, some of the optional upgrades are actually game-changing abilities. It's disappointing then that Axiom Verge's trappings are not up to snuff. The old-school graphics are well made, but they end up looking bland, and the story and world building has some interesting twists, but never comes around as satisfying. Though the music is a high point, and it fits the alien world perfectly. Still, Axiom Verge might not look like much with its overbearing nostalgia, but how it uses this to reach new heights is impressive enough in itself. In the gameplay department, it's probably the most interesting Metroid-inspired game of the last few years. Thanks for listening. This is our first one of these batch critique videos, so if you enjoyed it, let us know, and if you didn't, let us know, but can you be nice about it, okay? As always, you can visit castlecouch.com, and if you feel like giving us a donation, you can do that on the right-hand side of the website. Thank you again. Keep talking about games. They're the best.